Welcome to Sons of Patriarchy. I'm your host, Peter Bell. Sons of Patriarchy exists to expose the hidden power structures behind Christian nationalism. Through survivor testimonies, shared storytelling, and honest expert critiques from across the political, theological, and cultural spectrums, we shine light on systems of abuse and authoritarian control principally focused on Doug Wilson of Moscow, Idaho, and the movements he has founded and influenced, as well as across Reformed and conservative churches. Our goal is not just to inform, how did we get here, and what do we do about it, but to spark meaningful conversations in homes, faith communities, and public spaces about what a healthier, freer, and more just society can look like. Together, we can dismantle harmful narratives and build communities of mutual respect and diversity. Sons of Patriarchy aims to do what Doug cannot. We will unite people. We do not demand you be like us. We meet you where you are. And while you may not always agree with us, we hope we can agree on this. Churches should be safe. You can find us on all podcasting platforms as well as YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and X, and sonsofpatriarchy.com. Ad-free episodes, bonus content, listening a week ahead of time on both audio and video, monthly Ask Us Anything specials, and many more perks are available across 5 membership levels at patreon.com/Sons of Patriarchy. Much of the same is available via Apple Podcast subscriptions for $4.99 a month. You can give to this work directly at donorbox.com/sons-of-patriarchy. Exclusive Sons of Patriarchy merch is available at sonsofpatriarchy.com/merch. If you'd like to get a hold of us, desire to interview either myself or co-producer Sarah Bader, or you're a news media agency looking for information on Christian nationalism, patriarchy, Doug Wilson, or anything else we covered in this series, go to sonsofpatriarchy.com/contact. Now, on to the episode. The assassination of Charlie Kirk and the death of those we disagree with. This kind of episode is new for me and Sons of Patriarchy, but we're going to try it out. If it's helpful, please let us know. If it's unhelpful, still please let us know. We talked about bonus episodes last Monday, and these sorts of things are what we're looking at doing. Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA, was assassinated on September 10th, 2025. I could be wrong, but I'm not aware of another public figure, and one so politically engaged as Charlie, who was assassinated before the public's eye, maybe other than John F. Kennedy, within recent memory. That assassination happened on November 22nd, 1963, just a little less than 62 years ago. My father is 68, and he had not yet turned 7 when John F. Kennedy was shot in Dallas. There have been numerous assassinations of other public figures since John F. Kennedy, but again, to my knowledge, it wasn't on display in front of thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. Malcolm X was assassinated in 1965. George Rockwell, leader of the American Nazi Party, was assassinated in 1967. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in 1968. Harvey Milk, the first openly gay elected official in the United States of America, was assassinated in 1978. John Lennon, a member of the Beatles, was assassinated in 1980. Selena, a global superstar from Mexico, was assassinated in 1995. Tupac Shakur, a global superstar rapper, was assassinated in 1996. Brian Thompson, the former CEO of United Healthcare, was assassinated in 2024. Melissa Hortman, former Speaker of the Minnesota House of Representatives, and her husband were assassinated in June of 2025. Charlie Kirk's was different. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, pro-Christian nationalist or anti-Christian nationalist, people were live streaming Kirk's debates. Hundreds, if not thousands of those in attendance were filming at the time of the gunshot and assassination. That wasn't the case for any of those I just mentioned. We live in the age of social media, of live streaming, of instant communication, of global connection. Whether you hated everything Kirk stood for, or thought you couldn't find anyone closer to political, cultural, or theological convictions than Charlie, his assassination was different. And that's because it was public, very public, in front of a live audience, in front of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands live, through whatever and wherever they got their news, hot takes, and video entertainment. Outside of the execution of Brian Thompson, it's not likely a majority of those attending the Turning Point USA event at Utah Valley University were alive when Tupac Shakur was killed in a drive-by shooting in 1996. Elon Musk has a far bigger social media platform and footprint, but he can't command the kind of crowd that Kirk could. Nor is Musk anything near the public speaker or debater that Kirk was. Trump and Kirk shared a majority of the political commitments, but even Trump can't speak with anything near the force or pathos of Kirk. Kirk was the darling of the Republican Party. I didn't agree with Kirk on nearly anything politically, but that doesn't mean I don't understand the implications of his assassination. It doesn't mean I don't cringe with how liberal and progressive media is covering Kirk. The way Kirk's assassination has been discussed by anti-Christian nationalists, of which I am part, has been nothing short of confusing. Some has been disturbing, some has been disgusting, but most of it has been confusing. Yes, Charlie Kirk talked about gun rights in a way that is perplexing and alarming. He did indeed say that, and not directly quoting here, that the death of some innocent lives might be necessary for gun rights to persist, for the Second Amendment to make sense. His rhetoric was increasingly hot and disturbing around minorities, immigrants, Jews, women, and many others. He supported Christian nationalism in many ways, and then spoke about religious and personal liberties in ways that were, again, perplexing. Dependent on the platform he was on, whether it was his own personal podcast or a public forum, he would change the way he talked. But then again, who doesn't? Who is entirely consistent with how they speak in their tribe or outside their tribe? Who's consistent with how they talk at work and at home? Who's as bold among mixed company as they are, quote unquote, with their people? I bet you know the answer to that. No one is. I'm not consistent across the board. It's human nature. We are more careful with those we are disagreeing with than those we agree with. Our guard goes up and our guard goes down, dependent on the company we're talking with. And that tends to be online. And that brings me back to the points of this episode. Charlie Kirk's assassination was different. And that's because it was streamed. And he was a major, if not the major figure of young conservative Republicans. He was shot and killed in front of approximately 3,000 people, with tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people live streaming this debate. That has never happened before. And conservatives are saying that. Yes, they're also saying he's a martyr, which is not something I'll be discussing here. I'll also not be discussing the alleged shooter Tyler Robinson because we simply don't know enough about him. I don't care if he's Republican. I don't care if he's Democrat. I don't feel the need to shoehorn his assassination into my political agenda or through my preferred political lens and see everything through it and vilify those who don't view things the way I do. I believe in free speech, and Charlie Kirk's death is an assault on free speech, and that should scare us. We've gone from canceling conservative and progressive speakers on college campuses, well documented by scholars Jonathan Haidt and Greg Lukianoff in The Coddling of the American Mind, and Greg Lukianoff and Ricky Schlott in The Canceling of the American Mind, to killing them. We need public discourse, which is the point of the American university. It's the point of free speech. That doesn't mean free speech doesn't have consequences, but in the context of a public discourse and debate such as Kirk was known for and was engaged in at the time of his assassination. There's a way of disagreeing, and disagreeing vehemently with Charlie Kirk and all he stood for without sounding like someone whose head is perpetually stuck in the mud and doesn't understand how Charlie Kirk was murdered. Understand that for people who followed Charlie Kirk, they've never experienced anything like this before. I've never experienced anything like this before. They've never watched an assassination. I've never watched an assassination. Someone they love has never been so callously murdered before their very eyes like this before. It doesn't matter to them how inflammatory he was, how flippantly he spoke about women in the home and society, immigration, systemic racism, or any number of culturally relevant or hot-button issues. Because like it or not, Charlie Kirk's assassination was different. It is different, and it will continue to be different. Because we live in a different time. You and I can disagree with everything Charlie stood for and still understand his death was different and will be treated differently. So start talking like it, and I think people might start listening. And even if they don't listen, something in the back of their mind might know you understand. Again, if this was helpful, and even if it wasn't, please let us know. Our plan is to start doing more of these to help those who are both pro-Christian nationalist and anti-Christian nationalist start talking to each other in ways that build a bridge and not burn one.